There's a ride at an Australian theme park so popular that when it went missing, it had people asking, "Scooby-Doo, where are you?" This is an unnecessary investigation into the Scooby-Doo spooky coaster. On the 14th of June 2002, a live-action film featuring a talking dog was released, and with it, a ride was born. That piece of art was called Scooby-Doo, which was filmed in Queensland, Australia. To coincide with the release of the movie, on the 17th of June 2002, the Scooby-Doo Spooky Coaster opened at Warner Brothers Movie World on the Gold Coast. Scenes from the movie were shot at the studios adjacent to the theme park, which made Movie World the perfect location for the ride. Like the name suggests, the Scooby-Doo Spooky Coaster is themed around the live-action film. The main entrance is modelled after the Spooky Island Castle, and once you join the line inside, you'll find TVs playing a feature about the making of the 2002 film. The actual ride is an indoor wild mouse coaster that takes place inside a large dark room with smoke machines and a light show. Scooby-Doo, Where Are You by MXPX is also playing, which was on the movie's soundtrack. The ride is also filled with screen-used props, sets and creatures, and according to the park, over 21.9 million guests have experienced the attraction since it opened. But a recent mystery has begun to unfold around the beloved ride, and much like a carriage on the spooky coaster, we've been plunged into darkness with no clear view of the path ahead. On the 24th of January 2023, Movie World publicly announced that the Scooby-Doo Spooky Coaster would temporarily close for a multi-million-dollar upgrade. But we're now in 2025. It's been over 2 years and the coaster is still closed with no confirmation about a reopening date. This is where the investigation begins. When the park announced the temporary closure, they stated the upgrade would include a new ride operating system, new ride vehicles, and an improved guest experience. They wrote that the upgrade would be completed in 2025. Okay, understood. At the same time, the park also published an official blog post titled, "What's New to Come to the Scooby-Doo Spooky Coaster?", which also provided no date, just 2025. Over a year later in March 2024, we were reassured in an Instagram park update that the Spooky Coaster was still reopening, with the post stating, "Our team are working through updates on this fan favourite attraction with the ride manufacturer, with the highly anticipated ride scheduled to reopen next year." No solid date. In a video posted in May 2024, it was explained that Movie World is working with their manufacturer, Mack Rides, who are producing ride components at their facilities in Germany, and we were told we would be kept updated. Again, no date. The park published another blog post months later in September 2024, when we were given that aforementioned update about the refurbishment. But again, no date, just encouragement to stay tuned for updates in, you guessed it, 2025. Over on TikTok, Movie World responded to a comment asking when the ride would reopen, with the social media manager writing, "We will let everyone know as soon as possible." No date. Still in September 2024, we had a hint of a clue, this time in an Instagram post, with the park confirming that they will share more in 2025, but alas, no date. When you look at the park maintenance schedule, you're again given no date, and instead you're told the ride is planned to reopen in 2025. But when? We're months into 2025 and our cherished ride continues to be under maintenance. What's going on? And where is Scooby-Doo? At this point you might be thinking, get a job, read a book, do anything else. But firstly, when I told you this was an unnecessary investigation, I meant it and you should have listened. And secondly, I'm not the only one who has noticed this mystery unfold. Since the announcement of the Spooky Coaster closure in January 2023, Movie World has posted about the ride and/or Scooby-Doo 18 times in 27 months. And on many of these posts, someone is demanding to know the truth. Where's the ride? With no specific opening date announced, this has become a big question, and as a result, there's a lot of guesswork in the comments. Some people claim they're former Movie World employees who were told the ride would open in late 2025, early 2026. Others are just throwing dates out there. But everything is purely speculation until the park provides public confirmation. But when will that be? And when will we see Scooby again? To their credit, during this refurbishment, Movie World has continued featuring Scooby-Doo in other ways. They still have Scooby-Doo characters at the park for appearances and meet and greets, which they actively post about. Also, as an aside, Australian actor Neil Fanning was the voice of Scooby-Doo for both of the live-action movies, and guess where he once worked? Movie World. He began working at the park as a performer in 1991, and he was also a stuntman in the movies Ghost Ship and Crocodile Hunter before working on Scooby-Doo. He returned to Movie World in 2015 as a drift driver in the Hollywood Stunt Driver 2 show. So there's a chance that if you went to the park around that time to ride the Scooby-Doo Spooky Coaster, you may have crossed paths with Scooby-Doo himself. But back to the coaster. Movie World has made an attempt to be transparent about ride updates, and there's clearly a reason why they can't provide a solid date yet. This is a multi-million-dollar upgrade, so it's reasonable to assume there are a lot of delicate and unpredictable moving parts. This also isn't the ride's first temporary closure. Back in 2018, the Spooky Coaster was closed for planned maintenance from November to December 2018. This later changed to the 23rd of July to the 10th of December, and changed again to the 15th of December. This closure is when the ride changed to the Scooby-Doo Spooky Coaster Next Generation, which included a $1 million thematic overhaul. There was also planned maintenance again in 2020 from the 11th of October to the 20th of December. All of that to say, maintenance happens, that's to be expected. Timelines shift, which makes it difficult to provide solid dates. About 4 months before the park announced it would be temporarily shutting the Spooky Coaster, 4 people were rescued from the ride after spending an hour and a half stuck 10 meters in the air. According to an ABC report, it's believed a passenger took off an item of clothing while on the ride, which caused the carriage to jam. Queensland Fire and Emergency Services were called, and in a statement provided to media, Movie World said all guests made it down without injury. Back in 2015, dozens of people were evacuated from the ride. A Movie World spokesperson told the Courier Mail at the time that it was a routine ride stoppage fault, and the ride was operational again after a brief downtime. Connecting this ride refurbishment with incidents that are few and far between seems like a stretch, especially considering the ride has been operating since 2002. This ride is over 2 decades old, so it's likely it was due for an upgrade anyway. But what doesn't seem far-fetched is the idea that a park would invest millions into improving a beloved attraction. We don't have many theme parks in Australia, so if one of them wants to prioritise the safety and longevity of a ride, then that makes sense, especially if it means people can continue enjoying that ride well into the future. I just wish that future was now. I don't have patience. I commend the park for taking on this expensive, time-consuming refurbishment, along with constant questions from the public about when it'll be back, and also questions from a content creator who, for some reason, is looking into the reopening date like a mystery that only Velma Dinkley could solve. But I won't apologise for my hobbies. But just because I'm questioning the timeline doesn't mean I don't also respect it. The fact that this ride is still so loved after 2 decades is a testament to not only the 2002 movie, but also to the park, which continues to invest in this ride. There are people who love the Scooby-Doo Spooky Coaster who weren't even born when the live-action movie was released. It's still unclear when the ride will reopen, but when it does, I'll be glad to see it running for hopefully another 22 years. I've visited Movie World at completely different stages of my life, originally as a child and later as an adult. I went straight to the Spooky Coaster every time. It's likely other people have a similar experience. They grew up with this ride, or at the very least, grew up with the live-action Scooby-Doo. And that's the beauty of that dog. He seems to provide new generations with comfort and nostalgia. And that's what this ride is to people. Nostalgic. This case remains open, and I hope the ride does too, because when that mysterious reopening date is announced, I'll be there with bells on. This was an unnecessary investigation into the mystery of the Scooby-Doo Spooky Coaster. My name is Caitlin Jinks, and I investigate things that nobody asked for. If you liked this, I would very much appreciate your support in the form of a like, a comment, a share, a subscribe, a follow, whatever it is. And if you have a topic you would like me to investigate, particularly pop culture and horror, please let me know. Until next time.